quantum field and religion and living awakened life, seeing through God's eyes. When I speak about seeing through God's eyes, I use most of the quantum field. We see that scientists now really have come to a breaking point that everything is kind of a mirror. So all life is a mirror. But I use the Jesus story and I don't use it like the original theology way or the Christianity way, because I have studied theology with a lot of priests, and almost all priests, if not all of them, but I say almost all, know that the Bible was manipulated. So it is good stuff, yes, but it is not exactly, because when you study theology and you become priest, you have to also go to the language that it was written from, and then you see so many different documents. So when I say see through God's eyes, I am referred to my higher perspective and what I have gone through, because I have gone to the Christ process, and it is from being human in this life with this programming and all my ancestor stuff and all the habitat we're living, to get rid of your stuff kind of and seeing a higher perspective, not reacting from all what we have created, the dark period, the hell we have created on earth. But when I had the conversation in January 2015 with God, and he said, you have the same path as Jesus, it was like, okay, I didn't understand it fully, and I was in my dark night of the soul, and I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of this hell. I was programmed with hell, this duality. And when I had this conversation with God saying that your path is the same as Jesus, I remember I will never tell anyone that I spoke with God. And also in this conversation I met my grandmother who had passed then. And when she was in this, it was like a confirming, because she was the person I saw as God, because she let me be the one I was. All the other circumstances was kind of, I was wrong. So when I met God and my grandmother, and God said to me, you have the same path as Jesus, and I thought, oh, this is, because I was in hypnosis. I was in a study group becoming a regression therapist. And later that afternoon, I got a new insight, and God said, you have to share the conversation you had with the class. So I had to say to the class the next day that I had a conversation with God and my path is the same as Jesus. And that's what, wow, I will, because I said to myself when I had this conversation, I will never tell anyone, because I felt the judgment in my field. So being highly sensitive, you feel what you can say. You know that people will react, and I did it. And I said, I cannot say it because it felt like you are crazy. And I had heard from I was a little girl that I was crazy, so I had to shut my heart because I sensed everything. And sensing everything, you sense everything on Mother Earth, animals, and also universe, so you sense everything. So I had to shut my heart to not feel so much, but I do it now. I'm going back, so the reset was going back to what I did as a child. But the day after I had this conversation with God, I shared it with the class, and I was so nervous. I shaked, and I remember I told the teacher for this class, I said, I have something significant to say, but I'm afraid that I will stop myself. Can you point at me if you don't hear something from me the first hour? And a lot of people wanted to say something, because we had exercises and we had deep experience going in hypnosis. You come to the essence of you. So when I started to be a regression therapist, that was when I really start to connect to my innate light, the one I am behind all my programming. So it started in 2013, But in 2015, a half year before my son committed suicide, I had a lot of download and insight. And it helped me during my son's, when I went through this hard period, just grieving. And a lot of people have asked me, how did you come out of this, your son committing suicide? This is one of the most horrific thing you can experience, your son losing a child. And I became bipolar, not as the concept as we have created on Mother Earth, but I cried a lot. I cried, and then also I put on music and I danced, because I knew that I could go so deep in the grieving that I actually could become sick, because I have worked in mental health system for several years, so I knew that it could become sickness. So I became both bipolar, conscious bipolar, crying and going through all the grief, because all the love I had to my son and all the memory, so I honored it by grieving and taking it in. And also it was a lot of love in it, so I let it go. And also my son who committed suicide, he was with me, so I spoke with him, and it was mostly in the shower and next to the sea that he came through. And in 2018 I was 1 month in Peru, and this month in Peru was the biggest shift, the biggest ego death that I have been through. And I have been kind of guided several months now. You have to do something with the recording you did in 2018 when you was in Peru. So I will put out some of the recording. It is a couple of recording out that when I'm smiling and I am on my high, because this month also was kind of bipolar. I was so bipolar when I was in Peru because I transformed so much. So I was high, I flied, I was in the sky, like emanating heaven on earth, and it was amazing. And since I was so much high, then I had to release the body stuff, the programming. So I was a lot sick when I was in Peru, and I had fever. I have 41-degree fever, Celsius in Norway, and I was really sick, and I had so much pain, and I had so much infection. So when you transform, it is not just bliss, because we think it is just bliss. And this is what I wanted to say something about, because the Christ path, this is what is given to all of us. And it's not the same as it is in the Bible. It is holding your light, knowing who you are. Jesus knew who he was. He knew his past life, his future life. As I know now, I know my past life and my future life, and I interviewed them, and I help other people to come to this place in themselves. So my journey started in 2013, and in the end of 2018 I had transformed it. So since the beginning of 2019 I have lived and above my programming, but I lived then totally with an open heart. And 2019 was also hard, because living with an open heart with no filters in this world where it is so much cruelty and a lot of stuff come up. So I actually went into hospital May, June, because it was so intense. So, but I have walked the path, so that's why I can guide other people that wants to become the new human, because this is the time to become a new human. And Buddha is one we can learn from, Jesus is one. But when I refer to Christianity, I'm not referring to it literally, because when we are literally, because we read a text, living an awakened life is not reading a biblical text or any other text, like we have to do it mental. Living like and seeing through God's eyes, it is a state of being. It is not something mental you can script to your mind. It is a totally surrender, open heart. You are so open, you're totally open. You have surrendered your programming totally. And that was what I did in Peru. I was in the Amazonas jungle. I worked with shamans, and we worked with 5 different shamans, and 3 days in the Amazonas jungle. And that I actually want to say it because I know that I had a programming before I was guided to go to the Amazonas jungle to do ceremony with the shaman there, and I did for the first time ayahuasca ceremony. And ayahuasca is also seen as a drug, and it can be used as a drug because I have heard that a lot of people use it as a drug. But when you do it in ceremony, like this shaman that led us, he was the 5th generation shaman. He's actually dead now, and he had a good rumor, and he owned it. So he made this ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is actually 2 trees. It is trees, and when you are a shaman, you speak with nature. So nature speaks to you, and nature told you, if you take these 2 trees together, this will help people. It becomes like a DMT. You see beyond your filters. So I was in this ceremony 2 days, Friday and Saturday. And then I went above my filters, but it will show me a lot. But I will just take a small amount of it. I was shown my biggest fear. I was so afraid. All my frightened part, all the shame, all my programming came up, and it was painful. But I saw how I was programmed, and I also saw with God's eyes. So I saw the polarity. I could choose. I had to release all the programming, and also how my path was to see with God's eyes. So it is much easier when you go beyond your programming. So the programming we live through, it is also the perception. So the perception we have, the eyes we see with, it has been programmed, and we will attract what we believe. So our beliefs are actually important. So when I do ceremony now, I do a lot of private ceremony. So I know that I talk a lot about I'm doing ceremony. So I do ceremony very often, but I also do ceremony with people, and I'm planning a big ceremony in October. Then I will gather a lot of people, because this is a new aspect that has come now into what I'm going to do now, a new detox. I had no idea, but I have said yes, raised my hand to say yes. I say yes to go this path as Jesus did, and you will be invited if you want to go path of Jesus. And that is the same as seeing through God's eyes. But when I see through God's eyes, I don't mean literally like it says in the Bible and what it says in the script. It is to see the web of life, how we create our life, because our life is a projection of our inner. So we are heading that way, and in 2025, 26, 27, 28, the coming year, it will be a lot of turbulent. It will be crazy time. And the one that really brought me to my essence, the light of me, it was mafia pushing me. For 3 years they pushed me, and it was shown me now that this is the same metaphor as is happening with a lot of people, because Donald Trump, Putin, and Iraq, we see a lot of war. It is crazy out there, and all this crazy thing can be seen as mafia. Mafia is the same as corruption. We know that a lot of our leaders are corrupted. I don't want to go into it, but we know that the system are corrupted, and mafia was corrupted, and they pushed me, and they pushed me so that the only thing I could rely on is my God source. So know that what is happening this coming years and the process we are on, it is accelerating, it's going very fast, but we are pushed into the God source of us. And yes, I'm sorry to say, a lot of us will die. We will go out of this form. So a lot of people will get killed and get sickness, and COVID was just the start of it. That was kind of an initiation, and a lot of people from COVID really find back to, started to breathe again and go back to their essence. So this is what we are invited into. And the one who didn't take that lesson, it will come more waves. So what is actually happened, if we see through God's eyes from a higher perspective, it will be a lot of turbulence, chaos, because we are going against creating heaven on earth. And when we go against creating heaven on earth, we actually need chaos. We need to, all the old system we have created, all the hell, because we have created hell, that need to be transformed. So we will see it, and also I'm reminded about a quote that when we go this path, the teacher will show up when the students are ready. So if you are ready, you will meet the teacher that you are supposed to meet. I met a lot of teachers when I was ready. I was ready in 2013, even though the doctor said I will die. That was my starting point. So I started to release all the tension. And also I want to say another thing, because I have met a lot of teachers, and some of the teachers had low energy, because I sense all people. So, and I asked, why should I follow this teacher? Because it's so low energy. And then I was guided, well, they have some tools. So we also have tools, and the tools I got from particularly one teacher that had low energy really helped me. So I was in several sessions with this person that had stuff in itself, but the tools this person had really helped me. So, but some of the teacher is like, okay, they don't want their student to go past them. But if you are not really really holding it, and you have an ego, you want to be above your student, because I have met a lot of them, people that say here but not further. They don't want to let the student really blossom, because we have different rhythm, we have different time, and I have helped people kind of, I have met youth that have traveled so much higher in dimension and really helped me to go even more out of the construct on Mother Earth. So if I had said, oh no, I don't want, because you are so much better than me, but because when you live as a new human, it is not better and worse. We have different strength. So I love working with people that are so brilliant and have their genius. And then they can, their genius, they help me with their genius, and I can help them with my genius, because all humans have genius. Even though we have so many labels, we put it into sickness, working in mental health and seeing a lot of this craziness, giving drugs to people that really come to the God sourceness, and we are afraid of emotion. As I said, a lot of people have asked me, how did you go through all this trauma that you have and can hold it now? It is because I allowed myself to become bipolar in Peru when I grieved after my son committed suicide. So I know that when I go through another transformation, I'm letting myself grieve. And now I'm in a detox, but I'm not grieving. I just support my body, because I feel it so in my teeth and in my DNA, skeleton, the bone structure. So after this started in me, I have tried to find out about it, and people have spoken about it, but I didn't know before I said yes to it. So I meet a lot of people, I attract people that are on the same path as me. And I have said yes to write the new Bible. I wrote the Health Bible, but the Health Bible is actually the dark night of the soul, kind of, when you come to this place. And the new Bible I will write, it is about living out, emanating heaven on earth, seeing through God's eyes, how the new human will live, or what is possible, because everything is possible. When you come to this realm, it is like it's no words. First of all, I'm not the best in English, but also to find words to describe, because it is an inner shift, it is a being. It is no words with it, but we will also make a new language, and it is hieroglyphs. And hieroglyphs will help us, because the hieroglyph language we will make, it knows that everything is polarity on Mother Earth. And when you take in a hieroglyph, you know that it is both the good and the bad, if you call it, or the light and heavy density in it. And it is a vibration. So when I have walked through polarity, so when I can cry, I will give an example. If I cry an ugly cry, a really deep ugly cry, I remember I really had a really deep ugly cry. It was a shift. And then this cry was the most amazing happy cry. So it was on the same scale. It is the polarity. So an ugly cry can be the most blissful cry. So it is kind of the polarity. So it's like, wow, crying really ugly and deep shit can be the bliss. It is kind of the same. And I was like, wow, this is, yeah, it was actually, I experienced that when I was in the dark night of the soul. I think it was in the 2017. I was in a really dark cry, really, yeah, it wasn't nice. And then a shift like this, and then it was the bliss cry, like, wow. So we are moving into the quantum realm, and the quantum realm, it is a state of being. A state of being where we choose. We choose to create the life that we dream of, because we know that we are deliberate creators. So we are moving into creating heaven and earth, and we know that all is brothers and sisters. But what I wanted to say, that when I say that I have the same path as Christ, I'm not referring to the Bible. And all the priests and all the people in the Christianity that I have met, there are so many amazing people. But also there are conflict and discussion also in this Christianity. And it is a paradox, kind of, because in Christianity a lot of people have a lot of triggers against Christianity. But if you say Buddhism, we don't have so many triggers against Buddhism, because Buddhism is more known for being in the Zen, being kind of in balance. And this is actually the fundament in Christianity, also common in the Zen, in the balance. So that's what also this polarity, you have to work it out. So because some other therapists have asked me for help and putting me, say, can you look this, can you look this? And they ask me for help because they say, you are so balanced. I don't know any people that are so balanced as you. So when you see through God's eyes, you need to be balanced. You need to be grounded. Some people have said, you're not grounded if I refer to higher perspective and taking in God's source and all the archangel and everything. But I am more grounded than a lot of other. I'm not the most grounded people, but I am grounded. And we have a medium in Norway called Lily Bendis, and in 2020 I was guided to contact her, and I said, well, can't you just tell me? I don't need to go to another medium. But they were insistent, and one of the biggest lessons I got from Lily Bendis, because so many people take contact with her because she's a known medium, and she said to me, you know, maybe 90% of the people contacting me, they have no groundedness. They are flying and they're just flying. They are not grounded. And you are one of the most grounded person I met. And that was kind of, thank you. So she confirmed that I see you are really grounded, because I speak about the universe and the God and the Christ and all this higher celestial alchemy and higher realm. But at the same time, I am connected to Mother Earth. I speak to Mother Earth. Before this recording, I was on the mountain and I connected to Mother Earth, and it's so amazing. I took in her rhythm, taking in Mother Earth's rhythm. Oh, it is so healing. It is so amazing. So to connecting to Mother Earth, connecting to the tree, connecting to the animal, and also the dog of us, he is a little bit sick today, and he has followed me everywhere because he feels the healing I have, because I'm in balance. So he wants to be with me everywhere. So, and I comfort him and say, oh, it will be okay, I will be okay. He's very old, so he will die he have had extra years, so he's very old. But to die is not what we have thought about dying also, because we just die out of this form and then we incarnate again. So it is nothing bad with dying. It is just that we have to start over again. So we start over again, but we stop the process, because now I have developed a lot in this life. If I commit suicide, I had to start once again, but all what I have learned through this life, I will have in the next life. So it is beneficial to go long in a life, because then you can go deep. And the people that commit suicide, like my son, he have to start over again. And I have seen that he have chosen such a hard life once again. It's like, wow. So it is not a punishment. He chose it himself. And he went with, they are two souls in one body. So I know that he is a teacher. He has been one of my biggest teacher all this life. So they are two souls in one body, and I will meet him in physical life. And also my grandmother is reborn, and my grandchild that I have met in other life, and also have been mafia. So this seeing through God's eyes, it is, we will do it. We will, when we create heaven on earth, we will say, oh, you were my wife in my past life. Like one of my children in this life was my wife in an earlier life. Now she is my child. She's my daughter. So and also my husband this life, he was my husband in my last life when I was in Austria. And he felt so much grief for losing me, and he wanted to have experienced it again. And we had a very good life so we found each other also in this life. So we are doing it again. So we have soul contracts, and we have souls, and we play out this human game. But now we are invited into the divinity game, seeing through God's eyes. And I wish this for everyone, because when I have gone through all the life being a soldier and all, I had a lot of hard life, and I know that you also had a lot of hard life. Now is the time that we really can embody the contrast of the hardness. We can see through God's eyes. So we have kind of, yes, a lot of turbulence, a lot of crazy things will happen, and Putin, Donald Trump, and all the violence out there, they are kind of the contrast that push us. So see this as a gift, because when I see through all the hardness I have been through, all of them have been gifts to me. They had the hardest lessons, and people say, oh, you have experienced so much hardness. Yes, but that was gifts. It was grace in the sky. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but it was grace actually. And I was given the word grace. I think it was a couple of months before I had a conversation with God and say that my path is the same as Jesus. Then the word grace was given to me, that I had to follow grace. And grace in Norway, we have another word that is nåde, and it's not the same. It's a total different vibration. But when we listen inward and we listen to our heart, then we create heaven on earth. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about saying yes to being the new human, because this is what we are invited into. And it is not just one way. I do it my way, you will do it your way. Working with so many patients and so many people, I see that I cannot use the same tools, even though they come with the same symptoms. So we have to tune into the vibration and the frequency. So life is much more complicated than the surface of us. The surface is just half promille, very tiny aspect of us. So the human life is very complex, and now it's just the last years, and last years also, that I have said more yes to extraterrestrial, because I said I don't want to say yes to it. Even though I experienced it in 2018 when I was in Peru, suddenly it took over and I was this person with a long head, and I had all the memory. It just came through me because I was activated. But that was scary, and I was really sick afterwards. So, and it is now the last years to this 2025 and 2024 that I really can say that, okay, I have the foundation. I am grounded enough to carry it. So I'm not one of the one that go in psychiatry because you don't understand it. But having a psychosis is actually a good thing. So we have to see psychosis with new eyes. Even though I haven't had psychosis, no, I haven't had. So I had an experience when I did ayahuasca in Peru, and it felt like it showed me how we, even though we are doing drugs or having psychosis, we can pull ourselves out of our matrix. So that is the closest I have had to psychosis, because it was shown me, even though if we do drugs or if we have psychosis or whatever, we have the ability in us to go out of the body. So we can get out of the body with conscious. So yeah, but so I will, it is in Norwegian, all the recording I have from Peru, but I will go through it again. I have it in a recording, and I haven't looked through it, and it is 7-8 years since. So and a lot, so I will bring actually some video, and I will see if I can do it in English, because I speak in Norway, so I have to see if I can find an AI tool to put it out. And a lot of it will be also grief, because I cried. It was I have just shared the bliss and all. Yeah, this is amazing. It is. But also, if I hadn't gone through the hard thing, I couldn't live in balance. So the most important is that we have balance inside us, and we don't jump to all these triggers and all this animation kind of that people put in, and Trump and maybe our government and the workplace. Everything is kind of coming up, and we need it to come up, because we are going against heaven on earth, and it is amazing. So nothing that I say is literal. It is from a state of being, and this is kind of the main message. The new human is a state of being. We know who we are. We know that we are eternal. We know that we have a soul. We know that we have had so many lives, and we know that we chose to incarnate in this family, in this place, to do what we signed up to do. And with those words, I wish you the best day, the best summer, the best period, and know that it is not a coincidence that you listen to this video. Namaste.